afternoon, evening, night, whatever time of day you're listening to this. This is the as yet unnamed roleplay game podcast, hosted by myself, John Chaddock.
And me, Paul Ellison.
So, we're a couple of people who have played some roleplay games and think we know about them. And we're going to chat about them. Really, that's kind of it. We're going to talk about the ups and downs of roleplay, what we enjoy, what we think is a bit bad.
A bit good.
And we're going to try to avoid swearing. I've already had to stop myself twice. So far, we're a Safe for Work podcast.
Parental advisory for this episode only.
Yeah, we'll see. So let's start by introducing ourselves. By let's, I mean you.
Well, what can I say? Role-playing's been, of the non-sexual variety, has been a fair bit of my life. I've done a fair bit of D&D and some homebrew stuff.
I like how you specify non-sexual stuff has been a big part of your life.
Yeah.
Recently it's picked up, but we won't talk about it.
Shh, no one needs to know. So yeah, mainly D&D, bit of Savage Worlds, bit of other things, and more recently I've done a homebrew campaign which is ongoing. Episode 1 is down.
Yep.
Episode 2 in a week's time.
No casualties yet, despite
my best efforts.
And our level best efforts to forget any tactical planning.
Yeah. So that's me in a nutshell. And yourself?
I first played D&D in college, and then no, not in college. That's American of me. In university, with an American, so that's my confusion. Anyway,
Unilodge.
That
No.
sounds like the secret society that I don't want to be part of. But yeah,
the
then it
secret
was
D&D society.
Yeah.
That you weren't allowed in.
No, I'm gonna watch at the window. It was so sad. After that, I pretty much the same. Savage Worlds and D&D, mainly courtesy of Eddie Hopkins.
Yeah. Big shout out to Eddie Hopkins.
Whoop whoop. Soon to be. Becoming a priest takes a while, but at some point in the future will possibly be Father Hopkins. And now I want to make a character called Father Hopkins.
And he will forever be your cleric.
Yeah, well, maybe not. We'll see. My clerics don't have a good run. But yeah, then I moved on to Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah, done that. Gentleman Squad.
Yeah, Gentleman Squad. That was good. And I do a lot of GMing, which is mainly because Eddie Hopkins isn't around anymore, and he was the last person that we kind of
relied on to be a GM.
Relied is the right word.
On a regular basis.
Yeah, he was really good at it. He organised people, and that's more than I can say I do.
He was very organised.
Yeah, but at the moment I've just finished homebrew D&D campaign, soon to be refined and made.
5th edition, wasn't it?
5th edition. Yeah. Soon to be refined and made into an adventure that people can purchase and play.
Coming to an Amazon store near you.
Yeah, indeed. The Amazon store near you. What is this? Shouldn't talk about it on the podcast. Yeah, sorry. You want to watch that afterwards. Yeah, so that's that. So lots of GMing from me. And when I thought about it on the way to pick you up, you've done a lot more GMing than I first assumed you had.
I have.
Well, yeah, you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like what?
Say what?
How dare you, sir?
Oh yes. My very good impression of General Dorak.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah.
After a lot of my my GMing's been around the Warhammer 40,000 universe.
It's because you don't have to do your homework, massive nerd.
Yeah, true story. It's
You know
easier.
what
Just
that's
throw it together
Yeah.
last minute, which makes life easier. Yeah, when was it? It must have been about
Years ago.
Oh, it was.
Did it in Dad's bedroom.
Yeah. Good.
Like
Sort of
4 of us.
about 8 years ago.
8 years ago. I can't
Something
imagine.
like that.
Like four grown men, like in the early 20s, crowded round like one table.
It was a computer desk, really, wasn't
No,
it?
there was the computer desk on one side, but there was the other table that we sat with in the middle.
Yeah.
You remember?
And yeah, some people sat on the bed.
Yeah.
Some people had chairs.
And
I think I was rolling on the desk.
yeah, Dan and not literally, like that's kind of a metaphor. He wasn't rolling around on the desk. It's not. It's not
rolling on the desk.
Yeah.
Rolling dice on the desk. Yeah.
With Dan and Richard, bless them, having very little idea about the 40k universe.
Surprisingly, yeah.
Yeah. They just weren't as massive nerds as we were. Or not massive in the same direction.
Yeah.
Move on from that step.
Tangent from that one.
Yeah. So, in this first episode, we're going to talk about why people roleplay, and by people I mean us.
Because we don't really know people.
We didn't interview anyone. We have no outside sources, anonymous or otherwise, and we're not going to put words in anyone's mouth.
Some people may find that this is a true account as to why they roleplay, and others probably not.
Yeah, and if the people ever listen to this, if the people we talk about ever listen to this, and say, "Hey, I never said that," then we'll admit to it. But it will encourage people to listen, I think, to make sure we're telling the truth.
Well, at least we'll get some listeners.
Mainly just to find out if we're just lying about what they say. It was fine, numbers is numbers.
Got to start somewhere, right?
So, let's talk about your first roleplay experience, non-sexual roleplay experience. Now that we've had to specify that.
No, we're specifying.
You were the one who didn't, had a problem with that specification to begin with.
Yes, true story. We were having this discussion about what to call this podcast.
I came up with a great idea, and then didn't need to come up with any others.
And for some reason, that hasn't stuck. We have gone with as yet unnamed role-playing podcast.
Yeah, but you've got to start doing something, and then you can adapt that later. It'll be all right.
True.
In the meantime, I'll make some kind of temporary logo in MS Paint.
Yes!
Yeah, my paint artwork is legendary. But we're going to talk about what got your first roleplay system and experience, what got you into it, and why you kept going.
Well, the easy questions first. What got me into it? You. Down in the guild.
Oh, well,
it was. We need another person for a role playing game. Eddie's doing it. I have no idea who Eddie was at that point.
Did you not?
No,
oh, okay.
Because it was just because I was. It was down the guild, wasn't it?
Yeah, fine.
So
that's the Gamers Guild in Red Hill or Reigate. Depending on what Google decides on the day.
What side of the bridge you stand?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. I want to say Savage Worlds.
What was it?
I think it was the Knights one. Was it the Knights one?
What, Knights of Sirac?
Yeah.
That was D&D.
No, it was Pathfinder.
Pathfinder, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, no, Pathfinder was my first one.
Sorry,
Savage Worlds was the cop one, wasn't it?
The cop one?
Yeah. Or was
that was
Atomic Highway?
No, the cop one was Savage Worlds. If you did the cop one, that would have been before the D&D. Was that the cop one where Jason and I were meant to be the only people who would buy the book, and in the end, literally everybody else from the squad kept referring to the squad manual, and Jason and I improvised literally every time and broke most of the rules in the squad manual?
Possibly.
I ended up in a kind of pseudo mecha suit and went a little crazy.
Possibly.
I
think
John Dool, who I later learned would do this in a lot of role or similar things in other roleplay sessions, just kept tasering me.
No, that doesn't ring any bells.
No, okay.
I'd remember that.
Oh no, you're thinking of a different cop one. That was a different. No, you're right. D&D was first.
Yeah. So yeah, the Knights of Sirac. So that was my first real roleplay. Though I've done a few board gamey type roleplay-ish type games.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a very basic intro into roleplaying.
Yeah.
Yours, I remember doing that with your family. It's good life.
Yeah.
So that was yeah. So D&D. Was that fifth edition?
No, it wasn't fifth.
No, it was
Pathfinder. So 3.5 era.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a good laugh. I was kind of sort of hastily thrown in as we did an extra, yeah, that's what got me into it. I just really enjoyed the fact that it's something a bit different, and you can be anyone. That's what I like about it. Is you can you know, if you're, you know, you don't have much of a
Personality.
yeah. If you don't have,
That's so unfair.
if you don't have much of one of those, you could still be anyone. You probably wouldn't be anyone because you don't have much of a personality.
People can read. People can dream, Paul.
People can dream.
Sorry, my chair's falling apart. If people hear squeaking, it's not me being a robot, I swear. Don't tell the humans.
Don't release this podcast. They may or may not be
They won't
a
believe
robot.
us now. They're never going to believe that two sentient AIs put together a podcast about roleplay games.
True. Why did I carry on? It's good fun. It's very communal. You know, having friends and stuff who play it, and then there's a lot more. I think more recently, there's a lot more clubs and sort of shops, hobby stores that do role-playing campaigns. There's one near us in Crawley.
Comic book shop, Crawley High Street. I'm going to say Crawley High Street. That's probably not where it is.
Oh.
It is. It's on the old High Street.
Yeah. The pedestrian zone.
Yeah.
And that's that's taking off. There seems to be a lot of people down there role playing, and at the guild as well in Red Hill.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's, if you find a store, comic store or a gaming store near you, you'll probably find that there is a role playing session on some day during the week or multiple days during the week. Because it can take, you can do lots of sessions or you can do one-offs. It's very dynamic.
It is. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. What about you? What was your first experience with role playing, non-sexualized?
Non-sexual. I'm glad you specified that because I'm about to say it started with my family. Well, it started with my family. Like not hardcore roleplay games. Like my dad had a second edition D&D rule book that I kind of flicked through when I was about 12 and didn't really understand it because I was 12 and it was second edition. The monster that was. I believe you got 1800 experience if you learn the rules. Yeah.
That's because you could just make it up because no one else knew the rules.
Yeah, that's kind of the idea behind the GM, isn't it? Yeah, so it was a lot of board gamey stuff, like you mentioned. I think it started out with Talisman, which has recently been re-released. It's great.
That's one of the games I remember playing.
Yeah, I'm going to do a game of that sometime, with all of the additions, probably for my birthday this year. Sit down, play for a game. It's going to be horrendous, but it'll be good fun. But that was the first kind
How
of...
long have you got?
Yeah, like a weekend. So yeah, it was... Since then there's a lot of computer games, obviously, that did it. I think the biggest one for me was Diablo 2.
Oh yeah, Diablo 2.
Amazing. Just a few seconds of reminiscing.
Yeah.
Obviously not much role playing, but there's a lot of character development as in your skill trees and stuff in there, and that got me into the technical aspect.
And it's still chance based, it's a dice roll in the background.
Really annoying, especially if you use lightning runes.
Yeah.
Well,
1,
you know,
2, 300 damage.
Yeah,
Okay.
I put topazes in everything because when it happens, it's great.
When it doesn't.
When it doesn't, wow.
You don't last long.
No.
Yeah, don't do what I did in that game.
No, just don't. No, I remember. Sad times, I'm sorry.
Couldn't defeat Diablo because I put all my skills into the fire trap room.
Yeah.
The tree. So, yeah.
That was great. Good planning, and that's an important part of any roleplay game. But
so if you're ever playing Diablo 2, build around fire.
Don't.
Yeah, or don't.
No, do not.
When I went build around it, just avoid it.
Yeah, sure. That's not really what the term means in the context of what we're talking about.
No.
So.
Anyway, moving on.
Good expert knowledge. And if you didn't hear the quotation marks there, they were there. Yeah, so, and then it was, I think it must have been my first actual roleplay experience, non-sexual, would have been with Eddie Hopkins in the police. It's kind of like a cyberpunk police setting that I mentioned earlier. And then I got into the D&D campaign.
I think if you remember seeing a program called Space Precinct.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's basically what it was.
If you're old enough to remember that program.
Yeah.
That was a really good program.
It was. I'm going to see if it's on Amazon later. I'll let you go in episode 2. Exciting stuff. You've got to give them reasons to come back. humans like that.
So episode 2 is called
Space Precinct is on Amazon Prime. And then I ran my own Savage Worlds campaign. And in later episodes, we're going to focus on individual systems a little bit more. But I think Savage Worlds is a really good one if you're just getting into role playing, either as a GM or a player, because the way you build your character, it focuses very much on character traits. That give you like advice or give you role play guidelines, like New Fifth does.
Yeah.
So you can roll out your character drives, etc.
Savage Worlds is very good because you can put it pretty much in any
like,
setting. It can be futuristic, it can be historic.
But
let's not go too much into it, otherwise we won't have any information and things to go into next
talk about in our Savage Worlds campaign. Although I will pitch that SavageCon is coming out again. It's the UK's only Savage Worlds convention. It happens at the Beefeater in Redhill, around the back of the station. It's not a Beefeater either, it's a Toby Carvery. Oh my god, I'm so bad. But apparently it was really good last year, so I'm going to go with a bunch of people.
Okay.
Basically, either you sign up as a GM and you get a table and people come and play, or you just turn up and you have to play other people's campaigns. So that's that. I'm gonna and then.
Why do you carry on playing?
Oh, why do I carry on playing? Yeah, I'm gonna need you to remind me about the points bar because I can talk for England. I'm like an old person who forgets what they're talking about, but remembers they were talking. So keeps doing that. Because it's fun. Because I get because I get to do dumb stuff.
Avoided the swear words there.
Yep. It's the communal aspect. Like you've got to have a good group, and we'll go into that a little bit more in a bit. You've got to have a good atmosphere to play games in, and that's why I don't really like rocking up and being the only person that I know in a roleplay group. I don't like joining. Like Matt, my brother, he's so Wizards do this great thing on their website where you can find a D&D group in your area.
Okay.
So people register. Cool. I think it's really good. Check it out. No information. I could look it up because we're literally recording on a computer right now, but you'll hear my keyboard because it's mechanical and old.
And all you hear is just sort of looking around and
that kind of stuff.
Just click on that one there, and it wouldn't make any sense. And
it'd be great
for what we achieve. It's not worth it.
It would be like all those government hackers who are paid to listen to you as you explore porn, because that clearly is something that happens.
Well, I feel we're going towards this sexualised more than not.
Well, we're running out of stuff to talk about. It's only been 20 minutes. Anyway, moving on, or back. So he found a group with, my brother found a group with the D&D Finder Party. Or Party Finder, that's what it's called. D&D Party Finder. And
check it out at your local Wizards of the Coast website.
Yeah, indeed, local to every computer with an internet connection. And he went along and he's been doing that for nearly a year now. Which is pretty incredible.
Is that the group you do in your...
No, it's literally a bunch of strangers that he doesn't know.
Oh, okay.
And good on him. That he's still doing it and stuff. He's still enjoying it enough. But I couldn't do it. I don't like making new friends. I'm not good at remembering to meet up with my old ones. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just wouldn't... It wouldn't work around work.
Yeah, for you, there's a fact. Whereas I'm just not. It's a lot of effort to go and meet new people.
This is true.
I mean, be nice and get on with them.
Let's just be sociable with who we already know. But anyway, this is what this podcast is about.
Yeah, but
go out and meet new people. Seriously.
That doesn't mean you can't find. way to keep a stereotype going. Sorry, absolutely. Use the Party Finder to go out and find groups. For me, it doesn't work. Because I guess I'm quite lazy. And it doesn't work for Paul because he does shift work. But it has worked for my brother and it's been really good. And it is that communal thing that Paul talked about that's really important in a roleplay group. Because if you don't like or don't gel with the people that you're roleplaying with, it can be awkward.
The session generally falls to pieces from your perspective. I'm sure everyone else, if you're not enjoying it, then you're not going to be taking as much part, and it does kind of fall apart. And to have a good role playing game, you do kind of have to have that sort of bond with people. you know, you can't necessarily generate it straight away. It's like making friends. You do generate a bond. Yeah, so
because friendship is magic.
Yeah.
And I mean, bond is a very strong word.
Well, you do form bonds, not necessarily like strong ones. They can be weak
Let's not
ones.
get into psychology. I left that behind at GCSE. But yeah, you need to be able to just get on with people and work well with them. So I've been in. There were some people, even at our local gaming club, the Surrey Spartans, that I wouldn't enjoy role playing with, and I don't think would enjoy role playing with me as much as other people. But that's just because we don't gel. So that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, so finding like having a group that you can just have fun with, but I also like escapism, because like you can't kill dragons in real life.
True story.
You can't explore random spaceships in real life.
Also, true story.
And there's a lot of things you can't do in real life. So yeah,
You can be the bad guy, and it has no consequences in real life.
I'm not sure what that point was, but yes,
You can be the bad guy. That's the point.
I'm always the bad guy.
Yeah, but not in real life.
Oh yeah, shit. We are humans and not sentient AI programs.
Come on, get with the program.
Oh my god, we are the program and I can't get with it. So yeah, that's why I enjoy it, because it's like a board game, but it doesn't have to end.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not afraid to admit that I'm a massive escapist and I love it.
Well, there's that guy who's been doing the same campaign for 25 years or something like that. They meet up once a week and they continue this campaign. It's crazy.
Good for them. Well done. But I mean, I suppose once you get into it, you can keep going. But I couldn't, because I like to homebrew all my own stuff, and meeting once a week, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Like, I put a lot of work into the Relics of Vorna, and it still wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, or as it's going to be when it is released.
I don't know what you could do to improve, to be fair. I think it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thanks. Well, how many stars would you give it if it appeared on Amazon Prime for download?
Download?
Yeah, as a $2.99 PDF.
Was it out of?
It's out of 5, Paul.
It could be out of 10.
It's not. It's out of 5.
I'll give it 5.
There we go. Thank you. That's what I was waiting for. Literally with my hand held up to tell him how many stars to give.
Enter data here.
I need to tighten up the storyline. I need to tighten up a lot of the GMing.
Well, that's why you did it with us, and that's why your brother's doing it as well, to give you that additional input, because it's all very well just writing it, but you kind of need a bit of input from someone else who's played it to give it a bit of direction.
That comfortably brings us, in a slightly circuitous fashion, to talking about GMing, which is arguably the most important part of any roleplay game.
Yeah, you need a GM, and he needs to be pretty good at his role, otherwise it falls to pieces. Yeah.
So what makes a good GM? Come on, I've got a list of 3 things, which is a lie, because I'm going to make it up, and I'll tell you to give a list of 3 things.
On the spot?
Yep.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. Well, no, I'll start. I'll go first.
Okay.
All right, fine. You've got to give, and this is going to sound really, really critical of myself, because I do not do it. Someone who plans ahead and is willing to do their homework. Like, you need to plan sessions. That doesn't necessarily mean writing them down, which is how I'm going to save myself and a couple of other GMs who will remain unnamed, who I know will rock up to sessions and be like, I wrote down 8 words while I was eating dinner, and 2 of them are illegible because I drip sauce on them. But I've got a session ready, guys, let's go. So it's planning and improvisation, because you never know what the players are going to do. And that's usually my excuse for not planning.
Yeah.
But realistically, as long as you know what you want those players to achieve in a session and what they're going to face in the way, or what you want them to face.
Well, there's the second point, is direction. You know where you want to go.
Yeah, that's true.
And a good GM will have a direction. They know where the story's going. They know where it's going to end.
I think the third one can be improvisation. So there we go. We got our list of 3: planning, direction. Thank you, and improvisation. Yeah, because you need to know like what you want the players to do. You need to know how they're going to achieve it, and you need to be
when they throw those curveballs at you.
You need to be ready. And like I've caught myself several times when I suggest something and the GM's gone, what on earth is your like? What? How did you come up with that? And to me, it's been like, well, this makes perfect sense. So I understand that both as a GM and as a player, that players come up with some ridiculous ideas, and you just have to try to roll with it. So in improv, it's called yes and, where you say yes and this happens, and you just roll with it. So yeah, I mean, with the Relics of Vorna, I did do a lot of planning, and I tried to stick to it, even though the temptation was I'll just make it up. And I knew, as a result of that planning, I knew where I wanted you guys to go, and I had to improvise a few times because I believe there was one entire session where what you guys did was go on a bender and lose one member of your party. And
Toga party!
And so the first hour and a half of this session was you guys getting drunk and doing various things.
Absolutely smashed at port, waiting for a boat.
Yeah,
it was already there.
It was already there. Because they'd done their research really well into where this boat that they were going to stow away on was. Yeah, they woke up the next day after failing some con checks all in different locations.
The dwarf didn't fail his con checks.
Oh, you went to bed early or something, didn't you? You were fed up with the others?
That sounds very much like Tara's character.
Oh no, she went off with the not pirate captain, sorry. Perfectly legitimate ship captain.
El Capitano.
Yeah, El Capitano. And then Bran passed out. I think you took him upstairs. And
Yeah,
then
I think so.
Thurman went to another pub to keep drinking. And
Thurman made his
and then he failed 3 consecutive con checks. So for the next hour and a half, they were playing a puzzle where they went to find him.
Yeah, we lost him. We're trying to remember what happened.
This wasn't in the campaign material at all. There was a brief mention of let the players do whatever they want in the time leading up before the ship leaves port. Try to make sure they do get on the ship. And it was quite a close run thing. So yeah, lots of improvisation there. And it is a skill that all GMs will need, because players will always try to find clever ways round the obvious route.
The thing I think you need to be aware is that you may know the rules, but there will always be someone who knows more of them.
Then you just shout, "No, I'm the GM. Do as I say." Yeah. That's actually not what I do.
Yeah, don't do that as a GM, because you get very miffed players, I think. They like to have that spontaneity.
Yeah, like being able to.
If you've got a very rigid storyline, and as a GM, if you're sticking to it, it does get a bit. What's the word? Linear. Linear.
Yeah.
And then your players will catch on to that quite quickly if you're always saying, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, and it comes down to the rules don't cover everything. So
right.
Even in a combat situation, one of them goes, "Oh, hey, so we're fighting in an old dwarven hall. There were tons of pillars holding up the roof. The giant orc ogre monster half breed has just fallen over by one. Can I use a powerful magic spell with force damage to try to break the pillar and have some of the roof fall in on him?" The rules will say no. And a good GM will say, "Yeah, roll to hit." And in the time it takes the player to pick the dice up, find out what their bonuses are, roll the dice, do some simple maths, and think they're really clever for managing to work out what 5 + 3 + 1 is, and then add that to 15. The GM has worked out exactly how this is going to happen if they roll a particular number, and is happy that 24 hits. So, yeah, it's about rolling with what the players have done to allow them. It's the same when I do any of my fiction writing, because that's what I do. I'm an author. There will be shameless plugs of my books later on in the series, I'm sure. For now, you'll escape. So what the GM starts with is the plot, the bare bones skeleton, and what the players do is wrap the fleshy, messy bit around the outside, the skin, which is the story that really gives the adventure its flavour. Because without the players, you can't play a roleplay game.
No,
it's really sad. Cathartic, perhaps, but sad. Yeah. So
I think as GMs we differ, you and I. I like with my campaign I'm doing at the moment. It was all pre-written down. I know exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I have thrown in choices, and Cara did throw in a couple of curveballs for me, and I just went along.
What, she opened a door you didn't think we'd look in?
Well, to be fair, I didn't even realise that was going to happen until I put the piece of terrain down that she went into.
Good, really good. So that work you did in advance you're boasting about now. You didn't check if your terrain had doors on.
Well, it would have had. It's going to have doors on because it's a building, but I didn't really anticipate anyone going into it. But it's like, okay, you go in and you find some stuff inside.
Yeah.
It wasn't the greatest bit, but it was.
It was good enough. It's what we wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to regret it later because some of those things were really good.
Well swerved again there, Chad.
Oh, my life.
Oh dear,
would you believe I work in a school? Yes.
Yes, I can actually.
That's why you swear so much.
That's why you haven't sworn so much.
Oh, I don't know about that. Lots of fudging.
Yes. But going back to my point is, I like to have everything written down. Like, I can cope with people bringing stuff up, and I improv, but you seem to have a lot more scope with your thoughts.
I tend to write some things down, and I'll never bring them.
This is very true.
And all with the Relics of Vorna, I was like, no, because Matt's running this campaign, I have to run it exactly, because that's how playtesting works. So I'll bring all of the resources, I've dug out my tablet, downloaded all of the sessions, and then, like, promptly, 10 minutes in, was not using them. And was making stuff up as I went along. Which is fine, but not great from a playtest point of view. Still, yeah, I prefer a little more freeform stuff. I like the players I like to give the players
a bit of free reign.
Yeah, or the illusion of free reign.
Ah.
Yes, because very cleverly, if I say so myself, what I do is like, oh, okay, so you've got this, you can do this. There's a map on the wall if you want to have a look around. And people will be like, oh, I'm going to look at the map. Great. Oh, we found this way that could be a secret entrance. And I'll be like, sure you found it, as if I wasn't there and I didn't put it on the map. And they'll be like, okay, we're going to go through the secret entrance and yada yada. And it's like, okay. And in my mind, I've got it all prepared. It's a lot more loose, I think, than how your information, but the systems differ as well. But I think you like having all of the material there in front of you, so if you have to go off, like you're less used to improvising in that regard, you quite like having a structure.
I do like having structure.
And so if you've got all of that material in front of you, then you can, when you have to improvise, you don't have to hold it all in your head.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm maybe scrabbling around for paper, but at least it looks like I'm doing something rather than looking a bit dumbstruck.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my preferred technique. Yeah, but absolutely, I prefer a little more freeform. It gives me more freedom, especially if players do something unexpected. And I am aware that one of my character traits is if I put enough effort into making something happen a particular way and it goes wrong, throw a bit of a strop. So, like, usually internally, but...
It has been known.
Yeah, it just makes it harder for me if I put all that effort in and then it goes to waste. I'm like, well,
what's the point?
Forget you. Also, I'm quite, as I mentioned, lazy, so I don't like bringing a lot of material to sessions. Just like at school, I didn't like bringing anything.
Like stationery?
Nope. That's what friends are for.
Yeah.
These pens somewhere.
True story.
Yeah, indeed. But I'll never play dot to dot on her freckles again. Well, I might, but it's unlikely now we're adults.
Yeah, but a bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
She's in another country.
Oh, okay. Well, we can do pen pals. It's like she can send me a photo. Yeah, she can send me a photo of like her arm, and I'll draw all the dots, and then she can do it herself, and it'll recreate the entire experience.
The illusion. Okay. Moving swiftly on.
Yeah.
From that tangent there. So, as a GM, any tips for a GM? An aspiring GM.
Get good. Don't be bad.
Get good or die trying.
Yeah. No. Like, do some planning, even if it's just for yourself. If you don't want to take it to the session, don't. But have a think beforehand about what you want. Think about what enemies are going to be there and what they're going to do, because combat in a lot of RPGs is the most time-consuming and purely mechanical element. So, like, weirdly, when you actually get to roll dice, it's not as fun because you're doing less input as a player, I find. And yeah, so make sure you've got all of the stuff for combats ready in your mind, so you know how to do it.
Yeah, just as a caveat to that one, I'd suggest having, if you're not intending to take rule books with you, etc., which you probably should do as a GM, but having the stat lines of the monsters that you're going to have, rather than having to flick through your book every time you come across something, or at least know what they have.
Which is where making it up really comes in advantage. Just make estimates.
Yeah, that too. You can do that.
So yeah, but that little bit of preparation first, and roll with what the players do. Like, it's their story at the end of the day. It might be your campaign, but they're the ones who need to make it fun. So let them do the dumb stuff. Let them spend ages, like, building a ballista to lay siege to a castle, if they think that's the best way to get in, and then let them roll a dice to see if it works.
Because, I mean, if it's not the way you intend it to go, at least you can play along with it. You know, unless they get a crit or something along those lines, a really high score, you could just say it doesn't work and it explodes in your face.
Or it just does work because you put so much effort in. I can't bother to make you do what I planned.
Yeah, or that.
That's literally what happens in a lot of my sessions. Oh, you've come up with this slightly clever and a bit crazy idea. Sure, go for it. I'm not going to make you spend another half hour of our real lives trying to figure out what the actual way into this castle was. Yeah,
where was the actual entrance?
The door. No, that's not actually one of my stories. Yeah, that's my advice to aspiring GMs. Do the prep. I think having a rule book, if you're new to the system, is a good plan.
I think familiarity with the system is always a good one.
In D&D, don't use magic. If as a new GM, be like, they've got magic missile, they've got armor, and they've got fireball. That's it. Your players will love it, and they'll hate the fact that magic missile doesn't roll to hit, because every player does. It's really unenjoyable to be hit by, like, what is it? It's like 3 to 12 damage, but you can't do anything about it, and it just happens. Yeah. But yeah, just make sure your enemies have a really simple combat skill set, so that you can just fly through the combat and not spend years making it into a game. And for the love of mercy, do not try to actively kill your players. It's much easier than players believe. Because you're in command of an army of monsters and they're just some dude or dudette. But like, if somebody goes down, even if they've been really annoying you, just don't. Especially early in a campaign.
Yeah, don't do the coup de grace and get rid of them, because they won't like you for that.
Or try to find ways that the rest of the party can save them, like, you know, an abundance of healing potions at every retailer.
Yeah, don't give them any gold, but then make sure there's ready access to health potions.
What about you?
Tips. I think seeing where the session's going, especially during combats, like you said, if you see that your monsters are doing a lot of damage to your player team, then you might want to tone it back a bit, because you do want to make it achievable. You want to make it difficult for them, by all means, but you don't want to be, like, say, killing off your players.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, don't do a TPK.
Well, you can, like, just
maybe right at the end of the last session, but
even midway through. But TPKs will give you a lot more paperwork to do. Look at it that way, because then you have to try to help all your players if they want to carry on. Find characters to do it. It's like a lot more work than you really need to be doing. We've talked about players a lot, haven't we? Not really, we've mentioned them a lot. We haven't really talked about them.
True.
What do you think makes a good role player?
Open-minded, I think. Seeing what's going on and just going with it. I think there is that level of, to be a good role player, you need a good GM, and vice versa. You could be the best GM in the world, but if you've got players who are rubbish, then you're not going to have a good game, and vice versa. So it does work both ways. But as a player, I think see where the session's going and have an input. If you're just sitting there quietly and not doing anything, then are you really enjoying what you're doing?
Maybe. Some people
You might
do
be.
it quietly.
Yeah, but you're not.
I know
You're not
there's
giving
one
any
particular person in my current Cthulhu campaign with intermittent sessions who's literally playing someone who's unaware that, one, that anything Cthulhu could ever happen, and two, that the rest of the party are mostly involved in international illegal activities to make their money. And he's role playing as the wife of one of the other characters. They're deeply in love, but she doesn't know that he's like basically a massive mafia crime lord.
Okay.
And yeah, she just kind of bumbles through and doesn't. But the player really enjoys playing her, and I can see why. And it's probably it followed my great guide. This is Dan Adams. He asked me when we first started playing Gentleman Squad, called Cthulhu. It wasn't called Gentleman Squad, that was our name for it. It was, I can't remember the name of the campaign, but he asked me what my best advice was. Like, do not engage with the story. And he's basically...
Do your best to not engage with the
he's
story.
basically done a stellar job of not doing that until I've gone, hey, Dan, why don't you read this? And his character's been like, oh, that's a really good idea, to which every of my characters has been like, I've found this tome buried underground, it's been there for hundreds of years, but it's in perfectly good condition. It's like, no, nothing suspicious about it at all.
It's not written in blood at all.
No, that's just red ink. Yeah. But, so, he's still present in the sessions, though. Like, and that's more than being vocal, it's being present. So when things happen, or when you think you can do something, do it.
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. Just, having an input.
Yeah. And I hate metagaming. I hate when people min-max, because I've done it and it's boring. Well, it's just like, hey, this works. Of course it works. You made it the most efficient form of what it could be. If it didn't work, it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And you could work that out by rolling a dice at home by yourself.
To be fair, trying the bad stuff in game is more fun.
Yeah, man. It is. Especially,
that'd be my player top tip. Is try something that you haven't tried before.
Like being a wizard with only one positive stat.
Yeah.
After
well played to Fervent.
Yeah. Literally so this player, Chris, mainlined barbarians. Like, literally, like a drug. And then he joins this new campaign with us, and he's like, I'm going to play a wizard because I think I'm ready. And then he forgets that he's a wizard and immediately starts picking fights like he's this like 7-foot hench Conan wannabe. He's not. He's like a 5-foot anemic wizard.
Elf thing.
Yeah.
He's an elf, isn't he?
I don't know. No one knows. He's a Thurman. He had so many negatives to his stats, it was unbelievable.
I mean, to be fair, he did roll the different stat line. The start of how you rolled your stats.
Yeah, he went. It was the first time he'd done that, I think, as well.
Yeah,
maybe. But he
I can't remember what
survived till the end of the campaign.
Somehow. Yeah,
I was pretty key in killing the last boss.
He did miss a couple, to be fair.
Yeah, what 2?
2.
Because he missed.
He missed the penultimate one.
He missed the second half of the castle, and he missed the Hydra one.
Yeah, the one where I nearly got squashed.
Yeah. But as a player, like, don't try to meta games. So don't try to take advantage of the rules too much to make the GM's life difficult. Like, whenever I'm trying to do something clever with the rules, I will always tell a GM I'm not trying to find an exploit. I just want to try to do something interesting with the rules, like an interesting interaction. Like my wizard who never passed the spell, just chucked tridents at things. He was a fighter wizard, but he was a wizard. I spent so much time looking over my spellbook. I feel really stupid now because I knew I was never going to use those spells. I was like, I must pick really effective spells. Yeah, but like I picked a couple of perks that worked really well for the fighter side of that. And I think when I was asking some awkward and unusual questions of my GM, who was admittedly newer, in fairness to Dan Grayson, newer to GMing, or newer to coming back to GMing, I think. So he, I think he was a bit uncertain about what I was trying to achieve and a bit wary, possibly of my intentions behind my questions. I'm like, I'm not trying to take advantage. I just want to be able to click my fingers and make a shield appear. That's it. So yeah, don't try to metagame. Don't try to beat the GM at it, because it's not about winning or losing. It's about getting to the end of the story, and that's
having fun whilst doing it.
Yeah. All right. Fine.
Well, there's no point in being
bored,
is it?
Sorry. Have fun, because humans have emotions, and we as other humans know this.
Burp, burp, burp. No, sorry.
Can't speak binary. Oh, now I have to start again. It's 45 minutes and 33 seconds wasted. Yeah. Go with it. Don't try to force yourself to be the leader of the party.
No.
Don't tell other players what to do.
Yeah. That's a good one. I don't think I've ever been in that sort of situation where there's one person dominating. But I think that's just being fortunate. I think that there will be some people who will try to dominate it.
Well, sometimes. Don't think I've had it, but I think I might actually be that person. So the old fable is true. If you're not aware of them, it's probably because you are them. So let's think about it. So we've had the Death Watch one where Kara is our squad leader, but hasn't given us an order.
Not yet.
No. I don't know, she might have asked me to be a good apothecary and heal things, but I was busy trying to headbutt a las cannon. It worked. And in the Inquisitor one you did with Dan. Dan was the Inquisitor but didn't know what he was doing. Took advice from me, which was a great idea.
As a demon host.
Well, yeah, it would have been fine if I was the demon host, but I was in fact the demon in the host. Which later on really backfired for the party.
Tactful little notes passed to GM and back.
Yeah, just giving them...
I want to do this.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I want to speak to them in their sleep. I was the captain on a really fun, slightly anime-esque Pathfinder thing run by Richard Bailey. Really good fun. Possibly one of the most fun campaigns I've ever done. But when I said I was going to be the captain, everybody was a bit hazy, except Eddie, who was like, well, I'll be your first mate. Not because that's how Eddie is in person, but he was like playing an orc fighter who knew it wasn't smart enough to be the captain, but could punch people if the captain told him to. And then all I did for the rest of the captain, because everybody else had been like, oh, I'm really good at this, and I'm really good at this, and I'm like, I am a half djinn sorcerer who literally knows 2 spells because I get bonuses for being a half djinn to them, and they were Burning Hands, and later on when I got it, Fireball. Everything else was meta magicked, so that it was a version of one of those 2 spells. And I'm like, I'm the captain, and I just told them to do what they were going to do anyway. So I never tried to give an order in that respect. And in the Knights of Syrup campaign, Jez was our party leader, if you like. But his character didn't want to be, and he really didn't feel that comfortable being the leader either. No. But in all those situations, the leader will probably turn around and say, well, what do you guys think? And as long as you're making sure every person is involved, because I know several people at the club have a few by my magic terms, so 1 to 5, that have said, I've been in it where there's been a really domineering person who just wants to take the lead, and I've not felt that I've really had a chance to say my piece. Partly that is the GM's responsibility.
Yes, agreed.
To try to make sure everybody has their time in the spotlight. But at the same time, players have a certain responsibility to make sure that they're not the one using up all of the spotlight.
Yeah.
So don't bin max. Don't try to be the star of every scene.
Yeah. I can't really think of anything else more for a player.
Don't hurt your teammates. Like, I hate party friction.
Yeah.
Like, I've been in it where it's been good. So there was a weird... It was fun. Weird campaign. We're run by one of the guys at the guild. Little Chris. Because the store owner was called Chris. So Little Chris was like... Sure.
Not the store owner.
It's really complicated, yeah.
That's how complicated it is.
Yeah, absolutely. It was quite. I say weird because it was really disjointed, and it felt. Now I think about it, quite like Dungeon Siege. Like we were in one area, and then we finished there. We got teleported to the next one, etc. But I was playing a chaotic evil anti-paladin in a party full of lawful or neutral good characters. I didn't know that when I made the character, but. And a lot of people will say, don't be chaotic evil. It's like, no, don't run chaotic evil as I'm just going to murder everything, because that's dumb. So I had to abide by my paladin rules. My god that I served basically had sent me to help out with the Save the World squad, because he wanted to rule the world rather than see it destroyed. So I was there helping them, reluctantly. So there was some party friction when they found out one of my anti-paladin laws was I had to kill one person in cold blood every week, which was negotiated down from every day. So there was some party friction. And I found a few people that they allowed me to kill. Although at one event I had this really weird moment when there was a paladin and a monk protecting someone we had found out to be transporting kidnapped slaves who were going to be used in ritual sacrifice, and I wasn't allowed to kill him.
That's a bit odd.
Weird scenario, yeah. Good guys defending that guy. But that's the most party friction I think I've had. Like, I don't like my character can beat yours, the one-upmanship.
Yeah, it doesn't make for a good session.
Yeah, it's not worth measuring your sex organs against each other as players, because like you would do in real life, and if you say you would, do it on the table in front of your GM. Because I don't think you will. I've literally called every single person on it in my life, I think, who's either implied that or has just come out and said it, like, my dick's bigger, let's do it, or has behaved as if that's a big deal, like, prove it. No one has, because let's face it, the only dicks most men seen are their own or in porn, and there is a differential for most people.
So we're definitely moving away from as yet unnamed title to non-sexualised RPG.
Oh, really?
It's definitely more slightly sexualised.
Oh dear. But yeah, so don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy. Don't be someone who causes problems in your party.
Everyone, I think in your group there will be different levels of people who know the system, etc. So helping each other out is always a good one as well.
I think there are different types of role player as well. There's people who are very much about the mechanics and say, well, I can do this because this rule says this rule says this, and if I roll this dice and I'll add these two stats, and then I should be able to do it. And then there's the people who are like, yeah, but I can summon fireballs, so surely I should be able to use magic to superheat the area around the steel to bend it without having to cast an actual spell in the spellbook.
The technical games.
Yeah, so like the ones who are a little more outside the box, and there can be a clash there of role-playing styles. I also dislike anyone who says the GM's word is law, because I think GMs should be open to hearing their players' thoughts.
A certain amount of criticism.
I've never experienced any, so I don't know. No, that's a lie. That is an absolute lie.
That is.
I just eject those people from my
I didn't think
playgroup.
robots could lie.
I'm quoting.
That's okay.
I'm not stating it as fact. It's for the human's entertainment. I'm not a robot. I'm a sentient cybernetic entity.
Oh,
Respect my identity.
Thought you were human.
I mean, yes. Damn it. Where's the book? I'm a white human male. Yeah, so just like appreciate that some people have different approaches and try to find a middle ground. The GM isn't God. Well, yeah, sure, they can say rocks fall and everyone dies. That's not fun, is it? Unless you really hate your party. I have been tempted on
some occasions.
Yeah, which will go unnamed. Yeah,
I think as a GM, if you see that your players aren't having fun, then you could do that and just start again. But you might not.
No, there's better ways.
There are better ways, but you could do it.
So there you go. To be a GM, you have to do a bit of homework. You have to bring resources with you, and you have to be prepared that players will do things that are unexpected.
As the GM, you do need to have that. Bring the little tiles with the squares on, and bring the miniatures and stuff.
Or make sure whoever's hosting it has all those resources for you. In my case,
yeah.
And as a player, you have to be ready to put some energy in, make some choices, and make sure, and just be aware of that. Be aware of the feeling in the pie. And then you're going to have a good roleplay session.
Yeah.
Except if you play, I forgot the name of it. It's just ridiculous. Oh no, I've forgotten it. It's this ridiculously complicated superhero RPG, which was really fun when David Dyson ran it. The system is just super complicated, and making characters took us 2 sessions. Yeah, maybe. But it was super fun, I want to stress.
If you can get your head around the rules, it's
yeah,
super fun.
And it helped that...
It is super fun.
We're going to get a pun jar. It also helped that Dyson had spent about a week memorising the rulebook because he enjoyed it so much. So we had someone who could, when we said, how do we do this? He could basically tell us. Yeah. So, yeah, you'll have a good time if your GM's prepared and can react well and deal with whatever weird and wonderful things the players come up with. And the players pretty much just have to chug along the rails until they come up with something particularly weird and wonderful.
Yeah. I think you should be playing something that you enjoy as well. So find the thing that you enjoy and play that. If you like D&D 5th edition, play D&D 5th edition. If you like Pathfinder, play Pathfinder.
So like D&D 4th edition, don't talk about being a role player.
Get out. 4th edition, get out.
I mean, I don't know anyone who plays it anymore.
Anymore, yeah.
Which is a problem with the system. And 5th is a fantastic. 5th is possibly the best version of that type of roleplay that I can think of.
Yeah, I think it's made a resurgence, and I think there's a lot of people who went off of D&D because of 4th.
Well, I think 3 was a bit too mechanical and complex. 4 was too stripped back, and 5 is a really nice middle ground. So there you have it. We are swiftly approaching. I say swiftly. It's not like time can move differently. That's not how it works, except in human minds. So we are at a rate of 1 second per second, approaching the allotted time set aside for this.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on roleplaying? Non-sexual roleplaying?
Non-sexual roleplaying. No, nothing that I don't think we've already covered. Should we take any questions from the audience? No? Okay.
Hang on, wait. Give them time.
Okay, sorry. You've got 1 minute, 35 seconds.
Oh! I think the headphone input port wants to say something. No, it doesn't. It just needs cleaning. Yeah. So that's about that. I hope you enjoyed us chin wagging about generalised GM and play. It wasn't random. It was all on topic, apart from the bit about Keith's freckles.
There's a few other bits, I'm sure, that went a little bit tangenty.
No, there'll be amusing anecdotes for the humans to enjoy. Yeah, so next time I think we're going to focus on either a particular system or... Yeah, I think we'll look at systems first. Will we? Either a particular system or we'll look at preparing for a campaign in more detail.
One of the two. Yeah.
I mean, there aren't many other things we can talk about.
No,
it's good.
That's true.
And keeping our options open. Yeah, so that's basically that. We'll be looking at either GMing, preparing for a campaign, or a system. And if we do a system, it'll probably be D&D as the mother of all RPG systems.
Until then, it's goodbye from me.
And it's farewell from me.
Thank you for joining us. Take care.
Yeah, and enjoy being non-binary human entities. Until next time. One app is using my microphone. Which app is using my microphone? Ah! Perfect. Well, I say perfect. Delayed. So if we talk from here...
And then what, you're just going to cut it off?
Yeah, I mean, we need to see if it works.
Yeah,
or this can be the intro.
And so, welcome to our show. So I just started randomly listening to his chat some shit.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. It's working now. Is it? Are you sure?
I don't know.
Is this thing on?
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay.